Nick Hodge here with Digest Publishing, bringing you investment ideas you don't hear anywhere else, as I've been doing for well over a decade now. I've built financial publishing firms that now serve hundreds of thousands of investors across the globe. Over the years, I've written and edited multiple books about energy investing, funded some very lucrative early-stage companies, and made myself and my readers millions of dollars along the way. Today, we're setting up for what I think will be one of our biggest scores yet. I don't think it could be. I think it will be. The kind where you have the chance to make 10 times, 50 times, even up to 100 times your money or more. And that's just the start. Take a look at this rock. More specifically, look at the yellow metal embedded in the rock. Now, this is not gold. Aside from the fact that it is a metal, it doesn't have anything in common with gold, with one exception. Just like gold, the mining of this unique yellow metal could make investors incredibly wealthy, especially as it enters its peak supply-demand cycle like it has done only twice in the past 50 years. In fact, during those peak cycles, the tiny companies that mine this yellow metal allowed investors to make up to 132 times their money, 139 times their money, 308 times their money, 1,143 times their money. And one of these companies even allowed investors to make over 1,300 times their money. That's enough to turn $1,000 into over $1.3 million. Even a $100 stake in this company could have handed you more than $130,000. Just imagine investing less than what you'd spend on a steak dinner for two at a nice restaurant and watching it turn into over 130 grand. That's enough for many people in towns across America to completely pay off the balance on their mortgage. You won't see profit opportunities like this occurring in cryptocurrencies, in tech stocks, or in pot stocks. I know because I've already looked. But it's precisely the kind of opportunity we're seeing unfold in front of us right now. And it's all because of this yellow metal you see right here in this rock. That's because this metal is the key to providing the world with clean energy. And when I say clean, I'm talking about cleaner and safer than solar, wind, and every other kind of renewable energy combined. Plus, with President Biden's green energy plan, along with the world shifting away from fossil fuels, this could be the biggest and most exciting profit opportunity I've ever reported on for my readers. The peak profit cycle for this metal is already long overdue. As you'll see today, now that the world is turning to this metal for the bulk of its clean energy needs, well-known billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, and George Soros have each invested millions of their own money into the sector that revolves around this metal. And they're not alone, as I know many other millionaires who are beginning to pour their money into this explosive sector that could rapidly multiply their wealth. And that includes me. But you don't need billions or even millions to profit. You just need to position yourself accordingly today, because your chance to turn $100 into a fortune is about to unfold. Worldwide demand for this yellow metal is set to skyrocket to unprecedented levels as we shift away from fossil fuels. And my partner and co-investor, who has guided investors to massive profits in the mining sector many times before, has discovered a tiny company trading under 50 cents that's positioned to corner the entire US market for this metal within the coming months. But please be aware, there's no time to waste with this profit opportunity. Historically, the peak cycle for this metal typically lasts for just 2 to 4 years. I'll even show you where we are in this cycle in a moment. As with most market trends, the earlier you get in on this profit opportunity, the greater profit potential you'll have. With that said, you can understand my sense of urgency in this video. And like I mentioned already, if this peak cycle is anything like the last one, you could potentially watch $100 turn into a six-figure fortune, or watch a $1,000 investment shoot beyond the $1 million mark by the middle of this decade. This could power the world with clean energy. So what is this yellow metal getting all this attention and investment capital from millionaires and billionaires? It's uranium. And because most people don't understand this metal, outside the few facts they may remember from science class about it powering nuclear power plants, it provides us with this incredible profit opportunity. Let me quickly share why. Uranium is the world's #1 source of clean energy. In fact, it's bigger than solar, wind, geothermal, and every other renewable energy source combined. It's the only one with the energy potential to power the electrical grids for megacities, states, and even entire countries without interruption. Now, most people don't know this, but the US is the world's largest user of uranium, where 20%, that's 1 in 5 of American homes already relying on nuclear energy. And while we're leading the charge, other countries are following suit. In Russia, 20% of their homes are also powered by nuclear energy. Canada is catching up with 15%. South Korea is at 26%. That's over 1 in 4 homes. And France, get this, is nearly 75% powered by nuclear energy. That's 7 out of every 10 homes. And it's all with 0 carbon emissions and at cheap prices. Those are just the top 5 countries that use uranium power in their nuclear power plants. But the complete list is much larger and growing. And here's the kicker. The United States is the largest consumer and importer of uranium in the world. Right now, 2/3 of our clean energy consumption comes from nuclear energy. And as I'll share in a bit, we're planning to dramatically increase our nuclear energy use in the coming years. However, here's the issue, and where this profit opportunity comes into play. The US is almost entirely dependent on foreign imports of uranium. You see, back in 1980, uranium was 100% made in America. We mined it, refined it, and used it to power our country. But today, less than 5% of our uranium comes from American sources. Now consider this. We consume 50 million pounds of uranium each year, but less than 1 million pounds comes from American sources. So to meet our demand, we import a whopping 48 million pounds each and every year. That's 30% of the world's supply of uranium each and every year. Plus, our biggest suppliers are Russia and its satellite states Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, who collectively supply almost half of our uranium needs. And if you've seen the increased tensions between the US and Russia in the news lately, then you know that relying on Russia and its satellite states for keeping our lights on is not a good position for us to be in now or at any time. But this massive supply-demand gap is what provides us with the peak cycle profit opportunity that my partner has discovered. A tiny uranium mining company that's positioned to corner the entire US market for this metal within the coming months. And when I saw his research on this company, combined with where we're currently at in this peak cycle for uranium, I asked myself, could this be the next Paladin Energy? Now, if you haven't ever heard of Paladin Energy before, you're not alone. This little-known uranium mining company delivered the largest investing gains I have ever seen during uranium's last peak cycle. How large? Up to 130,400%. That's enough to turn a $1,000 investment into more than $1.3 million. Investors were able to literally become a one-stock millionaire in less than 4 years during the last peak cycle. And before I tell you more about the tiny uranium mining stock my partner discovered and why his research shows it could be the next Paladin Energy, let me briefly rewind to the last peak cycle for uranium and show you just how quickly early investors can profit from uranium stocks. In 2006, there was a widening uranium supply gap. A flood at Cigar Lake, which was the largest high-grade uranium deposit in the world, was all it took. That's how razor thin the supply is in the uranium market. One mine flooded and the entire sector went ballistic. This ramped up the price of uranium per pound, such that uranium-producing companies became worth billions of dollars practically overnight. The price of uranium spiked 13-fold, a 1,300% gain. A similar spike happened in the 1970s, and they share similarities to the uranium profit cycle that's kicking off right now. Both were ended by high-profile nuclear incidents, 3 Mile Island and Fukushima. And both times, investors made millions. But you wouldn't have made a fortune from buying and selling uranium itself, which is nearly impossible to do because it's a radioactive material. Despite the price of uranium rising 13 times what it was before Cigar Lake flooded, it was nothing compared to how these companies that produced and developed uranium mines performed. Take a look at Energy Fuels, which had 13,275% gains, enough to make investors 132 times their money. Then there's UEX Energy. That one spiked 13,976%, enough to make investors 139 times their money. Laramide Resources more than doubled those numbers with 30,800% gains, enough to make investors 308 times their money. And that's just the start. Had you invested just $1,000 into each of those three companies, you could have made $579,000. That's how powerful it can be to get positioned early when uranium is entering a peak cycle. And we haven't even gotten to the one-stock millionaire maker Paladin Energy yet. Tiny uranium miners like these could make you a one-stock millionaire in less than 4 years. Let me show you a company that could have almost doubled your $579,000 payday on just one single play. It's a company called International Anexco. This was a one-stock millionaire maker that surged an incredible 114,300%. Those kind of gains are enough to make investors over 1,100 times their money. Imagine becoming a millionaire by investing $1,000 in just one stock. Well, you could have done it not once, but twice during uranium's last peak cycle. This brings me to Paladin Energy. As I mentioned earlier, this company's stock shot to the moon, kept going, and went to Mars. In less than 4 years, it went up a mind-blowing 130,400%. And it gave early investors the chance to make over 1,300 times their money. That's enough to turn $1,000 into over $1.3 million. Of course, there are never any guarantees in the financial markets. Everybody knows that. But as you can see with these tiny uranium producers, they have the potential to provide life-changing profits in a short period of time. And a small investment of $1,000 or even $100 could turn into a substantial amount of money. The key is getting positioned early before excitement catches on in the markets. Remember, the peak cycle for this metal typically lasts just 2 to 4 years, and we're entering into it right now. That's why I'm very excited about this company my partner discovered and shared with me, because after I read through all of his research, we both agreed it certainly has the potential to be the next Paladin Energy. And if you'd like the opportunity to join us and potentially make a fast fortune on this little-known mining company, then here's your chance. You'll get to see the full investor's research report in a moment. But first, meet the mining expert responsible for reporting on this incredible uranium discovery. I knew when I first met Gerardo Del Real that we'd become good friends. We'd been invested in some of the same deals together and hit it off immediately when we met over half a decade ago. Since then, we've visited companies together, spoken at conferences together, and launched businesses together. And since meeting, he's a friend who's helped me make a lot of money. You see, it's not uncommon for me to invest $10,000 or more into a company that Gerardo recommends. Why? It's because of his track record. He could personally tell you about all his winners, and he has a bunch of them over the past decade. But those that immediately come to mind are when he made multiple fortunes for himself with Tasman Metals, where he made 500% gains, Nevada Sunrise, making 823% gains, Rare Element Resources, where he took home 3,900% gains, and Quest Rare Minerals when he banked 7,042% profits. He made millions on just these 4 stocks alone, all in a matter of months. And he doesn't rest on his laurels either, because he's always on the lookout for new profit opportunities, just like the tiny uranium company he gave me this research report on that I'd like to share with you in a bit. Plus, Gerardo is one of the most well-connected people I know in the mining sector. Any resource company exec in the world answers his calls. He's interviewed many of them personally, and he's been to mines and mining conferences all over the world. He's as connected as they come. So as an investor who loves to take a portion of my investment portfolio and swing for the fences for big paydays, Gerardo is my in on some of the hottest mining stocks. He's gotten me and my readers in on the ground floor of mining stock windfalls like 592% on K2 Gold, allowing us to see gains in less than 7 months. Enough to quickly turn $10,000 into over $69,000. It happened again with Magna Gold, with 768% gains in just over a year, enough to turn 10 grand into over $86,000. But the most impressive recommendation he gave me was to invest in a tiny Canadian gold mining company called Nevada Sunrise. It delivered 1,450% gains in just 5 months, enough to turn $10,000 into $155,000. Not a bad payday being able to turn $30,000 from those 3 plays into $311,000. Some newsletter guys will show you hypothetical gains, or gains of stocks that went up, but that neither they nor their readers were in. They'll say, imagine turning 30 grand into $311,000 with 3 exclamation points. But that's all they're doing, imagining. We live these gains, bank the profits, build houses and pools, and pay for our kids' private education with them. We don't have to imagine, and neither do Gerardo's readers. They're writing in absolutely ecstatic about their results. Dave J. said his insights and research have proven out over and over. Jim S. said Gerardo is his favorite newsletter writer by a landslide. This guy knows his shit. Mike V. says he always delivers the straight goods. And Victor G. simply told me he is the man. Now, you can see why I follow Gerardo's mining stock guidance and why I'm proud to own Digest Publishing with it, where we publish our premium investment research. So let me show you some of Gerardo's research on this uranium mining company that could be the next Paladin Energy. Going from under 50 cents to $25 could be just the first step for this stock's monumental climb. Take a look at this picture because it could be worth a lot of money to you. Now, to most people, this just looks like any old tree-covered hill at the edge of a prairie. But there's something currently hidden from view within this hill and beneath the prairie floor, a massive deposit of uranium. And all of this land is owned by the mining company that Gerardo has been researching. So how much uranium is there? At least 46 million pounds. Now, to put that into perspective, as I mentioned earlier, we consume 50 million pounds of uranium each year, but less than 1 million pounds comes from American sources. So all the uranium in the ground at the site you just saw is more than 50 times what the US produces in an entire year right now. Plus, this is just one of this company's projects. And not only that, a leading uranium analyst has called this site one of the best in the US because of its large size and its high grade. So why hasn't it been dug up already? And why isn't there uranium mining equipment and transport trucks swarming all over it? In a word, regulations. First, the tiny mining company that owns this piece of land didn't yet acquire its Nuclear Regulatory Commission license, a key federal permit required to move the project into construction. Second, it didn't have all the Environmental Protection Agency permits, and any uranium producer in the US must have both of these. After all, this is uranium we're talking about here. There are dozens upon dozens of measures that must be taken so the workers are protected, along with the surrounding environment where the mine is constructed. We're talking about all the land and minerals for miles around, along with the water nearby and in underground aquifers, and all the plants and wildlife. But that's all about to change, because this company recently received both its NRC license and all its final EPA permits after a decade of waiting. It's perfect timing for uranium's peak profit cycle. These recent developments position it to become the newest major uranium producer in the United States, if it isn't taken out first. Right now, we anticipate that could happen as soon as January of 2022. And once it does, it could be incredibly exciting for early investors, as they could potentially watch this uranium producer share price go from under 50 cents to $25. And quite frankly, if it stopped there and made investors 100 times their money, anybody who got in early would be absolutely thrilled. But like you've already seen from uranium's last peak cycle, a small mining company like this one could quickly go from being worth a few nickels to several dollars within just weeks. I showed you Energy Fuels, which gave investors the chance to make 132 times their money. UEX Energy did the same for 139 times investors' money. And Laramide Resources did even better with 308 times their money. That's why we think this uranium mining stock making investors 100 times their money could be just the first step for this company's monumental climb. There's still time to get in at the ground floor, and it could be an exceptional profit opportunity in the months to come. I can send you all of Gerardo's research on this company if you'd like, so you have the chance to grab shares before financial analysts on Wall Street start covering it. But before I do, take a look at why this tiny uranium miner, one that could be the next Paladin Energy, has the potential to hand you the kind of fortune that could turn $1,000 into $1.3 million by 2025. After a 10-year bear market, uranium is about to enter a once-in-a-generation peak cycle. As you may recall, the Fukushima disaster in Japan that occurred in March of 2011 had a major impact on nuclear energy production and consumption throughout the world. Practically overnight, they took their nuclear power plants offline, and other countries like Germany did the same. Its effects rippled throughout the markets. Uranium mines closed as the price plummeted, sending uranium stocks down 90% and bringing the last peak cycle to a close. And that's where the uranium market has been for the past 10 years. But everything is changing now, and it's changing fast. Another peak uranium cycle is starting right now, and at current prices, we can't produce nearly enough. So the price of uranium has to rise dramatically, just like it did in 2006, sending select uranium stocks up 100 times or more. The world has come to realize that uranium is the key to climate change solutions, as it is the only clean source of baseload power. As mentioned earlier, it's already bigger than solar, wind, and geothermal combined, and it's safer too. It's well documented that nuclear energy causes fewer deaths per kilowatt generated than renewable forms of energy. Plus, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has approved the design of a new kind of reactor, a small modular reactor, or SMR. Here's what one looks like. These reactors are setting a new standard for safety in the industry, as its unique design allows the reactor to passively cool itself without any need for additional water, power, or even operator action. In other words, no more Fukushima-like disasters. Right now, utility companies across the US are able to apply to the NRC to start building these small modular reactors. Construction could start within the next 2 or 3 years as uranium's peak cycle climbs. Just imagine these kinds of smaller, safer reactors all throughout the US and throughout the world, providing clean and inexpensive energy for countless people. And guess who's also been pouring their money into nuclear energy? Like I said, billionaires. Just take a look for yourself. Peter Thiel's put $2 million into the sector. Jeff Bezos has $19.5 million invested. Bill Gates has invested $35 million, and George Soros has put $126 million into nuclear energy. Those are just the billionaires that most people have heard of, plus other billionaires and millionaires people haven't heard of. Hedge funds, even ones that broker deals for Hollywood and the world's biggest companies, are getting in on the action. And other institutional investors are all looking toward the future and pouring their money into nuclear energy, including uranium, for one simple reason. That's where they anticipate the profits will be. Why are they so sure? It's simple. The uranium bull cycle has to come like clockwork because prices are too low right now to bring enough supply online to meet demand. It's really that simple. Take a look at this diagram that shows uranium's bear market for the past 10 years and where we are in this new peak cycle right now. This is the sweet spot to enter, with massive upside potential and very little risk. But this is an extremely brief window. How do I know? Just look at the price of uranium itself. You can see the cycle plain as day. If global governments want to meet their clean energy goals, the price of uranium has to rise. Enough simply can't be produced at current prices. Consider these worldwide numbers showing the growing demand for nuclear energy. At last count, there are 440 operating nuclear reactors in the world, with 55 new ones under construction, 109 in the planning stage, and 329 additional reactors proposed for the coming years. Japan has restarted 9 of its reactors after shutting them all down 10 years ago, which is projected to save its utilities over $5 billion in fuel costs each year. China is looking to double its number of nuclear reactors, which would provide power to over 700 million of its citizens. India is planning to power a third of its country with nuclear energy, which would provide power to over 450 million people. Saudi Arabia, known worldwide as the king of oil, is even planning to build 2 large nuclear reactors that would provide 15% of its energy. This will be the decade for nuclear energy throughout the world. And if you want to see the sort of life-changing investment gains that I've shown you earlier, there's no time to waste. The good news is that Gerardo has done all the legwork and research for us. Let me show you what he shared with me as the major catalyst that could send this market soaring within the coming months. The US government is about to fast-track uranium production for the first time in 48 years. I've already shown you the US imports over 95% of its uranium, so there's obviously a huge gap in between our paltry domestic supply and our ever-growing demand. But what most people don't know is that the huge gap has been made even larger because of the coronavirus crisis. It resulted in an additional 20 million pounds of uranium production removed from the markets in 2020. These pounds cannot be made up, which deepens our deficit position. So for the US government to take immediate and bold action to strengthen the uranium mining industry in the US, under Trump, the Senate Committee on Appropriations ordered the creation of a U.S. Strategic Uranium Reserve, which would buy U.S. mined uranium for domestic producers, similar to the Strategic Oil Reserve. And the Biden administration is following through on that, with current Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm announcing in mid-2021 that she was kicking off the process. Under Biden, the Department of Energy is even requesting a record $1.85 billion for nuclear energy for fiscal year 2022. Plus, the US government also amended the Russian suspension agreement, extending it to 2040, which reduces uranium imports from Russia. As I mentioned earlier, the US gets almost half of its uranium from Russia and its satellite states. So this amendment is a major development for uranium mining in the United States. But perhaps the most significant development is that after 48 years, the Democratic Party is now in favor of nuclear energy, with the Biden administration in favor of subsidizing both small nuclear modular reactors and extending the lives of existing ones. There is finally bipartisan support for it in the United States. That means increased agreement between political parties to rapidly advance nuclear energy production in the US to meet world climate goals ahead of time. Increased government subsidies to uranium miners, refiners, and utility companies. Increased investments in next-generation technology like small modular reactors that will be safer and reduce energy costs to end consumers. Fossil fuels are on the way down and nuclear energy is on the way up. And the tiny uranium mining company Gerardo has been investigating is going to be right at the forefront of this massive push to use nuclear energy throughout this decade and beyond. Those who get in on this profit opportunity right now have the potential to turn a $100 investment into a six-figure fortune. If you start with $1,000, then you might be able to watch it grow to $1.3 million, just like early investors in Paladin Energy did during uranium's last peak cycle. Gerardo put all his work together in this new investor research report called The Next Paladin Energy: The Secret of Turning $1,000 into $1.3 million. In it, you'll discover this company's name and ticker symbol, along with a thorough company profile based on Gerardo's first-hand analysis, including information you won't find in any other financial publishing outlet. Gerardo's full transcripts of interviews with the company's CEO and other uranium industry experts. Complete details of company assets, holdings, and upcoming dates for company catalysts, along with Gerardo's forecast on uranium, where it's heading next, and the catalysts driving the market. Gerardo's recommended buy price range so you won't overpay for this stock and still have the greatest profit potential as we move through uranium's newest peak cycle, and much, much more. And I'd like to send it to you today for free. I'll give you all the details in a moment, but before I do, I also wanted to share our findings about two additional profit opportunities Gerardo has just uncovered that tie in directly to this massive uranium surge. Because Gerardo is one of the top experts within the mining and natural resource sector with access to many mining company CEOs and executives, it only makes sense that he's dialed into numerous early-stage profit opportunities weeks, if not months before they are reported on by other financial news outlets. His expertise and connections are the key reasons we partnered up here at Digest Publishing, and it's why our readers have been able to make boatloads of money, usually in short periods of time. We do this by harnessing cycles in the market and leveraging them for maximum profits. It's why our free newsletter is called Daily Profit Cycle. And the bigger cycle that's driving uranium profits right now is also driving profits in other green metals. So in addition to the tiny uranium miner that could be the next Paladin Energy, Gerardo has put together two additional profit opportunities that dovetail off this once-in-a-generation uranium peak cycle. Bonus profit opportunity number 1. Establishment of a US-based lithium supply chain. As you probably know, lithium is a critical metal used in rechargeable batteries in cell phones, laptops, and electric vehicles, and the supply chain can barely keep up with demand, especially in the US where we saw COVID constraints in the supply chain. Just like with uranium, the US is a major importer of lithium. So as we move to using more clean energy this decade, which includes the increased usage of batteries for electric vehicles, it only makes sense that the lithium mining company that can establish a US-based supply chain could make a boatload of money for investors. And Gerardo has discovered the company positioning itself to do just that. In fact, he just sent me a special investor research report called the US Lithium Lifeline, how you could quickly multiply your money with this lithium miner. If you're interested, I can send you a free copy in a moment. In it, you'll discover how this company not only controls the largest known lithium resources in the US, it also owns another world-class lithium mine in Argentina that happens to be the largest lithium brine resource in all of South America. Between these two mines, the company could provide countless tons of lithium for the US and other countries for many years to come. And at today's stock price, it's an exceptional buy and could allow investors to quickly double their money over the coming year and potentially make multiples more by 2025. You can get all the details about this company, its lithium finds, and everything else you need to profit from the growing lithium demand in Gerardo's report. And check this out, bonus profit opportunity number 2, next generation large-scale copper discovery. As I've shown you, when Gerardo finds one lucrative profit opportunity, he often finds others that are in the same or complementary sectors. In addition to the uranium miner that could be the next Paladin Energy and the lithium miner that could quickly double your money, he also uncovered a tiny metal exploration company that has a history of making investors up to 10 times their money or more whenever they make a big find. Gerardo sent me all his research on this company in a special investor report called the Triple Metal Jackpot, a discovery play that could triple your money or more. In it, you'll see how this company is exploring specially procured sites that could hold massive copper, silver, and copper gold deposits. And this is incredibly exciting for 2 reasons. First, the price of copper has more than doubled over the past few years because of a growing supply-demand gap. Copper might be the metal we need most for this green transition, and a supply deficit is expected to drive prices even higher until new supply comes online. The company that makes the next big copper discovery could be generously rewarded in the financial markets when it comes to its share price. Gerardo's research shows that this one could be it. The second reason is because this company's discoveries help investors fight rising inflation. As you've likely seen in the news, and when buying practically anything, prices are going up as governments print more money out of thin air. And what are the best hedges for inflation? Silver and gold. What makes this tiny metal discovery company unique is that it seeks silver copper and gold copper deposits, all metals that are and will continue to be in high demand and help you fight inflation. Gerardo's research shows that this tiny company is on the cusp of discovering another huge copper, silver, or copper gold deposit. And if that happens, we could see the stock quickly triple in price. In fact, the last time it had a major find, its share price went up tenfold in a year. Imagine how great it would be to make 10 times your money in just a year. Investors who grab some shares of this company right now have the chance to make it happen. And to help, I'd like to send this special report to you for free today, along with the 2 other special reports I've already mentioned when you try Gerardo's flagship mining investment newsletter, Junior Resource Monthly. If you'd like the chance to double your money with the lithium miner I mentioned earlier, if the prospect of making up to 10 times your money on the tiny discovery company when it finds its next gold, silver, or copper deposit excites you, or if you'd like the opportunity to turn $1,000 into $1.3 million by investing in the next Paladin Energy and literally change your life by becoming a one-stock millionaire, then you'll want to get on Gerardo's email list today by subscribing to Junior Resource Monthly. Once you get started, you'll immediately receive all 3 special investor reports I mentioned in this presentation. Plus, you'll also receive 12 monthly issues of Junior Resource Monthly. Each issue is packed with financial research, profit opportunities, and market insights you won't find anywhere else. Each month, Gerardo will provide you with hidden, little-known opportunities that could turn small stakes of money into big paydays. Plus, you'll also receive access to his archives with additional profit opportunities for free. 24/7 access to Gerardo's model portfolio. This includes all of his open investment recommendations, so you can pick and choose how you want to diversify your portfolio to maximize financial gains. Flash alerts. Immediate updates from Gerardo when needed. Access to Gerardo's natural resource wealth library. This growing collection of special investor reports will provide you with additional profit opportunities in natural resource stocks that few analysts report on or have even heard of, that could provide you with the chance to scoop up shares weeks or even months before stock prices soar upward. A dedicated customer service team. If you ever have any questions about your subscription to Junior Resource Monthly, you can contact us at any time. Access to Junior Resource Monthly costs $199 a year, and at that price, it's an absolute bargain. But as part of this limited time offer, you can pay just half that. So when you get started today, you'll get everything you saw for the discounted price of just $99 a year. I only ask that if you invest in the companies Gerardo discovered and make big profits, you'll write to us and share your success story. Fair enough? If you'd like, you could even take your $100 in savings and invest it in what we believe is the next Paladin Energy, and have the chance to watch it grow to over $130,000, just like investors did the last time we saw these market conditions in the uranium sector. And like all our premium research publications, you can try it out today 100% risk-free. If at any time over the next 6 months you're not satisfied with Gerardo's research, simply contact our customer service team and you'll be refunded every penny you paid for this service, no questions asked. Gerardo stands behind every recommendation he makes because it's often what he's doing with his own money. And if he's not making money, then his members aren't making money. That's why, as publisher, I can confidently offer each member of Junior Resource Monthly a completely risk-free 6-month test drive. Our corporate clients pay us thousands of dollars per month to deliver results that meet their demanding professional standards. All this is yours today for only $99, and I'm completely guaranteeing your satisfaction for a full half year. I think it's insanely cheap to receive a full year of Junior Resource Monthly, considering the profits it consistently delivers to people like George F., who say, "Thank you, Mr. Del Real, thank you. Since using your publication, my portfolio has risen to a rapidly advancing $110,000. That is truly a dream unfolding. Thank you for your publications based on hard work and something that today is hard to find, your honesty and integrity." And Jack S., who says, "Gerardo is just fantastic. There's no other way to say it. I make money." No, he makes money for me, big time. My God, he's been giving me a Christmas present every month. And all I can say is we're not talking about nickels and dimes. This guy is really, really great. But I will say that we can't offer this discounted pricing forever or to everyone. We're only offering today's discount to the first 1,000 investors who take advantage. I said it at the beginning of this presentation and I'll say it at the end. Take a look at this rock. It's not gold, but it could make you more money than any investment you've ever made. The best part is that you can take a small amount of capital and turn it into the fortune of a lifetime. The chance to turn $1,000 into $1.3 million doesn't come by often, but when it does, fortune favors those who take decisive action. Gerardo and I are loaded up in the uranium sector. Here's your chance. Join us and stake your claim in this unique once-in-a-generation profit opportunity and try out a risk-free subscription to Junior Resource Monthly for the best investment research in the natural resource sector that you won't find anywhere else.